So thank you so much for joining, Ohad.
Thank you, Matem. Nice meeting you again.
Yeah, finally. Where it was? I think we met
In
in
LA.
CubeCon in LA. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, last CubeCon.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And so great that conferences are back.
Yeah, finally in person. So amazing. I love it. So how is Swamp Up so far?
Swamp Up is amazing.
Sorry guys, we're in Swamp Up 2022.
In San Diego,
In
Carlsbad,
San Diego,
beautiful
exactly.
place.
Carlsbad, yeah, nice hotel, beautiful.
You know that there is Legoland over here? Have you heard about Legoland?
All right, you need to take me to the Legoland. I love
I
Legoland.
need first to take my kids to Legoland, and then,
then
you can
go
join.
with the kids or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me a bit more, Ohad, for the people here. What is N0? What are you doing today?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, my name is Ohad Maislish, co-founder and CEO of N0. N0 is a management platform for infrastructure as code. So if you use Terraform, TerraGrant, Pulumi, CloudFormation, and also Kubernetes, and you want to manage that in scale, you go to N0. You probably heard about our main competition, Terraform Cloud of HashiCorp. So we direct competition to Terraform Cloud. There are some interesting differences, but all in all, the open source Terraform, you can do basic things with that, but once you scale, you need to have a managed solution to provide you self-service, governance, workflows, and basically a business solution, not just a technical solution. So that's what N0 is doing.
Cool. And we're partners, we already use it. And
yeah, JFrog is a great customer of ours. We're very happy that JFrog chose N0.
That's awesome. So tell me a bit more. Why so special in N0? Why we should use the N0 when there is so many solutions? I know all of them are pretty much the same, but I know that you're a bit different.
Yeah, so we've built the product from day one, not specifically to Terraform, which means we invented some concepts that are beyond the concepts of Terraform. If you go to our product and see what we call projects and what we call templates, it's basically logical entities that do not exist in Terraform and allow you to manage infrastructure as code in scale. You can group workspaces, you can have policies and role-based access on basically everything. It can be some Git repos, some cloud accounts, some users, some policies. Combine all of those together, and that allows you the maximum flexibility. And we also have some great, unique capabilities like drift detection, which is very basic but very important, and automatic cost tagging, cost monitoring and automatic tagging. But all in all, if you use infrastructure as code, if you use mainly Terraform or TerraGrant, you probably need to look at something like N0. It will allow you to do way more in less time with less risk.
Cool. So basically in project I can add whatever I want, right? Like I can take different entities and create like a project like we're doing in JFrog actually. Now we're monitoring and managing everything by project. So we can just do something similar, I guess. Yeah,
it's very flexible. You can define how you want to manage that, what workflows can be executed, what workflows cannot be executed. It's very dangerous. Yeah. Infrastructure as code, I sometimes compare it to nuclear technology, which means...
Nuclear, really?
Which means, yeah, it's very dangerous. If you use it without the right guardrails, it can explode and you can destroy your cloud resources, or you can provision unsecured cloud resources, or you can provision very expensive
I heard
cloud
those
resources.
Crazy stories about
it's very,
that
very
tried
easy.
It and it's so easy.
Very easy. But if you use it smart way, like nuclear energy, it can be safe, good for the environment, and you can gain a lot from using it. So basically you need the platform to manage this beautiful weapon/technology to use it in the right way.
Yeah, I love that you described it as a weapon, because that's what I did. Then, like in the first time that I learned Terraform, kind of destroyed. You know, you're learning, you're just playing with some stuff. Oh, and my machine is still working, and then like it's super expensive. I forgot, of course, to shut down everything. I just played and
And you deleted the wrong thing?
Of course, I have to. Don't tell anyone, but yes, I did it.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, for example, we have in N0, are time to live policies, which basically the admin can define a list of allowed operations for developers. Those developers later on basically get access to execute certain cookbooks, recipes,
Yeah.
and they provision those resources, but they have expiry. They have default time to live and maximum time to live. So we can empower them with a default short-lived time to live, let's say 1 day or 1 week. But if you want to extend to 2 weeks or 1 month, you can without need of any approval. So you get both things. It's very efficient, and no matter what, you'll never have endless resources that you forget about them 6 months later and just wishing no financial operations person would knock on your door and saying,
super embarrassing.
what are those 50 VMs that have been running here for 3 months? We don't need those. Who is paying the bill now? So that's one of the things that M0 is doing, because it's, again, very easy with infrastructure as code to create damage. In this case, it's cost with developers, but it can be, again, in production, unsecured resources, with not the right standards, without the right configuration, the right modules. So you need all of that management and business context to, again, manage that in scale.
That's very, very cool. We actually just released recently the Terraform support, if you saw that before in Artifactory.
Yeah, we see that Terraform is no longer just for AWS, GCP, and Azure. Basically, every vendor has its own Terraform provider. I just read a great blog about the GitHub Terraform provider and how a very interesting company no longer associates permissions to developers by clicking something on the GitHub UI, but instead it's automatically being done with the Terraform provider for GitHub. So we see that for GitHub, for JFrog, Auth0, Twilio, New Relic Datadog, and also M0 has its own Terraform provider. Basically, nobody wants to click buttons anymore. It's unmanaged, it's unauditable, and instead things are moving to code. And today, Terraform is the de facto standard for infrastructure as code. There are Pulumi and others that are great, but the first, for example, I guess JFrog now released their first as Terraform, and maybe later on you're going to do other providers for other frameworks. But you start with Terraform. That's what the market really wants.
Yeah, that's kind of the basic right now. Okay, cool. And before that, you told me a bit about your other jobs that you had before and your cool startups. Maybe you can share it with the team here.
Yeah,
it sounds super amazing. I promise it was super interesting. He's a bit shy, but it's super, super impressive, really.
I don't know. So M0 is my third company, and all in all, second startup. The first startup had nothing to do with DevOps. It's related to what you cannot see over here, which is my wheelchair. I'm a disabled person, and the first startup tried to do good things for society, so we empower citizens around the world to help the disabled. Later on, I started my own services company, and my background is technical. I was and probably still am a geek, a proud geek.
A proud geek, not just a geek, a proud geek.
Definitely. And that was very fun. We did some super innovative and interesting projects for startups, helping them in infrastructure, automation, cloud projects, DevOps, and it was super interesting. But during this period of time, I've noticed what looks to be a major revolution in cloud, and that's code. I started seeing AWS accounts with read-only access, and it was very weird for me to see DevOps engineers that get full read-only access. Like, they can see everything, but they cannot do anything.
Yeah, they can't control it.
And I remember the first time I've asked the DevOps engineer in a big US insurance company, we were debugging something.
Yeah.
And I asked him, can you change this configuration in this load balancer?
And he was like, no?
No, he said, yeah, sure, but instead of going into the AWS UI, he opened GitLab and looked at the Terraform code and changed some code and merged this merge request. And then he said, okay, let's wait a minute or two until it's going to be executed. And that's how he changed the load balancer configuration in AWS. Today, it looks natural that when you use Terraform, that's how you change cloud resources. You change the code. You don't change directly the cloud resources. But back then, when I saw it for the first time, I noticed that this is a totally different way of how to operate the cloud. And AWS, GCP, Azure, and others, they have no idea about your code. GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket and others have no idea about your cloud resources. In GitHub, you have permissions to change code, but you don't have permissions to execute code. You don't have the context of which cloud resources are going to be affected by executing that code. So it felt like there are two different systems that need to be managed in one centralized place. And basically, that the cloud today is no longer just cloud resources, it's cloud resources and code that represent the same thing. Hopefully, if you don't have a drift.
If you don't have a drift, yeah.
So yeah, that was my second company, which was a services company. And once I noticed that the cloud is going through a major evolution of code, I felt that we should no longer focus on services and we should start looking for problems that need better products or new products to solve. And we did some market research. And then the fun part of fundraising. And since then, it's a roller coaster that keeps on improving.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So where's your base? I think you have base all over the world or something, right? Like you have some places in Israel?
So like JFrog, we started in Israel, and our focus there is our engineering team. So we have 25 engineers or something in Israel, and our go-to-market team, sales and marketing, are outside of Israel, mainly in the United States, but we have several employees in UK as well. And it's the typical Israeli startup that you focus your engineering team in Israel and you focus your go-to-market teams mainly in the United States, where the big market and the ecosystem is, like we see today in Swamp Up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how many employees do you have in M0?
To be honest, I'm not sure exactly.
I don't need the exact number.
About 35, but
cool.
I honestly don't remember the exact number. Maybe that's not a good thing. But that's the truth. Around 35 employees nowadays.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
really, really cool. And I guess that you grow up so fast, right? Like I remember that it was very small.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy. It's crazy to see how fast things change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
It was amazing to meet you again.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
And we are also going to Yalla DevOps, which is another great company event by JFrog.
Yeah, and you'll be there and you'll speak there, right? Or someone from your team. And
yeah, definitely M0 will be there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.